just run the ball. You did it the whole drive down the field. You did it for big chunks of yardage, small chunks of yardage, medium chunks of yardage. Run, run, run. You've been running the whole game. You ran up 200 yards on this defense, a defense that doesn't even allow 90 yards per game, and you didn't even think of passing. The whole final drive. You chewed up the clock. The great clock management. You obviously don't want to give the Texans the ball back. And you get down to 4th and 1, season's on the line, and you throw this dinky little out pattern to a guy that hasn't seen a target since the first drive of the game. Why? Why?
Wow. Wow. Taylor was beat up. The throw was a little off. I'll be honest, but still, it's a catch that should have been made. He was able. You got two hands on the ball. You got to make the catch. But they were just hoping to get the first down and give Taylor a little bit of rest. He was almost downgraded. They said his ankle and his heel, so he was a trooper and came back in. Like the guy was that final drive. There's no doubt about it. But he had to have been hurt, and they tried to give him a break, and
And
the
and
ball was
right
there.
and right before the drive started, or very early in the drive, they said, "Okay, it's looking like not likely he's going to come back in." Sure enough, he came back in, and he didn't look like he was hurt at all. He's chugging the yards out still.
He was chugging, but Taylor's pure north and south. Like he's not an east west guy, so that they were going to load the box on him and a yard. I don't know if they would have gotten the yard. I don't know. So I don't have a problem with the play call. You could say, okay, Minshew throw the ball a little better, give the ball a little better placement, so my man catches it in stride and is able to go. But if he makes the catch, he gets the first down. You
I
know,
mean,
I
well, yes, he was wide open. So I mean, if you're going to put any blame on the play itself, it's definitely on Minshew over the receiver. Even though I'm not a big good fan, and he did not have a good game tonight. But I would much rather lose
mm-hmm.
knowing you gave it to the workhorse who's had a phenomenal night and got you all the way down into the red zone. I would much rather lose knowing your workhorse got stuffed. You went out. You went out the way you came in. I mean, this is like passing instead of running in that play is almost akin to the Pete Carroll call in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but if you know that it was a solid play call. If he catches it, he gets the first down. I don't have a problem with the play call, and I understand what you're saying. But if that helps you give Taylor a little bit of rest for that final, minute, then I think you call it. It definitely took the Texans by surprise because I think they were just assuming that it was going to be Taylor. But then you've got Goodson in, so they're like, all right, it's got to be a pass. But I don't think they were prepared for the exact play call. So it's one of those things. Throw could have been better, but I think the catch should have been made. Um,
And
just not. And I knew something was up when the Texans missed the extra point. I'm sitting there going, okay, this is how the game goes down. It was going to be down to the last minute. I'm honestly thinking Uncle Rico's leading the drive. This is how it ends.
yeah, I get that argument, but outside of the first drive, which looked like ancient history, with the rest every other drive in the first half,
Mm-hmm.
and their first drive in the second half, with a couple passes that set up the long Taylor touchdown,
Mm-hmm.
he really did not look sharp in this game, Minshew. He really did not have a sharp looking game, and I just I understand the play. The receiver was open. It was a good call as far as the call itself was concerned, game situation notwithstanding. But to rest your season on a pass like that for a quarterback that's not really having an overall good game is not. It doesn't sit well with me post mortem.
No, and I understand that, but you've got to give the Texans defense some credit too. They were getting after him all night, so I can kind of understand him not having. He didn't have a quality Minshew game. There were a couple throws, early in the game where he just overthrew, and it wasn't there. I honestly think you probably should have thrown to the backs a little more during the game, so it would have kept the game flow, and they would have been more prepared for it. I think Godwin doesn't see the game action from the beginning of the game, so it's like he's cold. Like, let's be real. And you're throwing, like you said, you're throwing him in the play that basically will either keep your season alive or end your season. So
yeah. Goodson, the only other play I remember him being targeted on a pass was the first drive when they're going down there, and he missed that one too. And that one was overthrown. That one wasn't on him, but it was still kind of like that was the only other target he got. Like you said, he's as cold as ice.
Or even if you had run Goodson during the game, got him a couple carries just to get him into the flow somewhat. Just kept him going. He probably would have felt better about himself. I just think it was throw could have been better, catch should have been made. At the end of the day, unfortunately, it is what it is, and now the Colts will now hope that Richardson's ready to go and the future's here. But for how the season went, there's a lot of positives in that. I think the team is relatively young. Those guys, and you know what, you could blame it on this last drive, but there were plays on the defense. There was that missed tackle when what was it, 1st and 20.
Every single tackle attempt against Nico Collins. I don't know why we could not guard him tonight. He was the only offensive player we couldn't guard.
It was, but there was that drive where you thought Stroud was throwing the ball out of bounds, and guys are just showing up making catches. It was just one of those things.
That one I'll tip my cap to. I mean, he's just lobbing it to a spot. In theory, that could have been picked off just as easily as it was scooped off the grass by Collins, or not Collins. But as far as the protection, I don't think the protection was that bad, especially considering we had to play half the second half without Braden Smith. But whatever. I digress. We'll get over to the Texans. I'll tip my cap, but I will not congratulate them because we just handed it to them on a silver platter.
I think it also shows the need for a truly big physical number one receiver for you guys.
Yes, and I'll say it. I'll say it again, and I say it every year. I say it almost every week when we're in season. Michael Pittman is not a number one. Okay, the fantasy people love him because he gets 100 catches every year. He is as possession receiver gets. He is not a game breaker. He barely averages 10 yards a catch. Michael Pittman is not a franchise number one wide receiver. I'm sorry, he is not. Fantasy managers be damned. He's not. He's not. He may get you your 8 catches a game, 100 catches a year. He might get you your fantasy final, but as far as real football is concerned, not the guy. I'm sorry, not the guy.
No, and because we've talked about that, but yeah, I think now you really need a truly true number one, and probably another tight end, more of a pass catching tight end, athletic kind of guy. So, not the way you want to end the season, but there are a lot of positives to look forward to.
Yeah. So I mean, I think win or loss, D'Amico Ryans is going to get a lot of love for Coach of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
I think this almost solidifies his favorite status for it, because if Indy had won, then Steichen gets a lot of significant votes, and you also have to think of Kevin Stefanski as well, because the revolving door quarterbacks that he's had to deal with at Cleveland, and they still probably will win 12 games this year. So, but I think the fact that the Texans now are in position to potentially win their division, if not, and just make the playoffs in general, I think that kind of solidifies coach of the year for D'Amico Ryans.
Oh yeah, definitely. Hell of a season. No one gave the Texans any type of chance. Everyone was saying, this is, the beginning of the build. No one knew what you're going to get with Stroud. We've talked about that. The Ohio State quarterback, like no one believes in him. And I think this is the first quarterback in a while to come out of Ohio State to say, wow, he's legit. He's the real deal. You've got to give, Ryan's credit. That team comes to play. They're young. They're only going to get better. And they've got injuries that they're overcoming. If they were full strength, who knows what the season would have been the last couple weeks, last 3-4 weeks easy. So you've got to give them credit. They're only going to get better, and they're starting to build something really strong out there in Houston.
I think there's a number now. Stroud's gotten a lot of the favorite uh, talk for offensive rookie of the year, and I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that he certainly had the season to back it up, but he's also he had a couple of those. He missed some time at the end. They it took him. They looked like they were in prime position to make the playoffs a number of weeks ago, but his
Mm-hmm.
injury kind of derailed them and took them down to the edge. So I almost think his candidacy is kind of being elevated just by the fact that he's a quarterback and everyone loves a quarterback.
Well,
Because
of course,
there's a lot of target players that are rookies that have had phenomenal years. Puka Nakua is top five in the league in receiving. He's almost got 1,500 yards. Uh, Sam Laporta's got 9 touchdowns. He's been an animal for that Detroit offense. Zay Flowers has uh, very much buoyed the Baltimore offense when Beckham hasn't been the Beckham they thought they were going to get, and Andrews got hurt, and the running backs were a
Mm-hmm.
disaster earlier in the season. So I think there's a lot of other skill position players. I hate using that term, but a lot of target type of players that are rookies and are probably not going to get the love they should get for rookie of the year voting.
Yeah, but this is what the league is. The league is built on quarterbacks. You know that's what it is. When it comes to the MVP award, for most of the season, everyone was like, "Oh, Tyreek could be it. Tyreek could be the guy." But then Tyreek got hurt, kind of faltered off, and the quarterbacks again take center stage. But I have no problem with CJ winning it. I think he's really led that team. He really hasn't felt like a rookie. Like
No,
he's really taken that team, and he doesn't make mistakes.
well,
He doesn't make mistakes that veteran guys are making week in and week out.
Uncle Rico. Um, Especially compared to his contemporaries this year because Bryce Young's looked lost and Anthony Richardson can't stay healthy. I mean, if Levis actually played a chunk of the season, Levis could have given him a little bit of a run, but
Oh no, definitely,
too little, too
definitely.
late.
But at the same time, does Levis have those weapons that all of a sudden the Texans unlocked? With Tank Abbott and your new favorite guy, Nico.
Oh God, no. He's going into the Darren Sproles, Drew Brees category real quick.
So wow. Oh wow.
I was
Wow.
trying to
So
think. I was trying to think of a Patriots player of old that I hated, and the only ones I could think of were Ty Law and Rodney Harrison.
yeah, true, true. So do you think right now the Carolina Panthers are sitting there looking at their roster saying, we took the right guy?
I think they have to be scratching their head a little bit, especially since they've already bailed on their head coach. um, I think they're definitely second guessing their quarterback selection as well.
Oh,
Um,
definitely. They have to be. Honestly, if you were to reverse the roles, I think Carolina would have won more games. I really do.
I think they would have won more games. I don't think they would have been a playoff team though, because even CJ being the probable better player than Bryce, I still think CJ probably would have gotten beat up a little bit behind that offensive line.
But you know what? I still think they would have been in the playoff hunt more or longer than if Young had gone to the Texans.
Especially considering the fact that 2/3 of the NFC Wild Card participants might be 8 and 9.
You know, but no, I think that Stroud would have made them a possible playoff contender. I really do. Now you look at their body of work. I think Carolina is sitting there going, I don't know. So we're gonna plus
Although that being
Carolina.
said, Carolina
Yeah,
also does not have the weapons that Houston did.
no, but they were a more veteran team. I think that kind of makes up for it. They had some weapons, like yeah, not these young guys, but I think they would have been competitive. They would have been far more competitive than what Carolina is now.
Yeah. Now there was another game that preceded this one, and I hate seeing the Pittsburgh Steelers ever do well. But sure enough, they get their 10th win. They have not clinched. They still need some help. Somehow they can still actually make the playoffs with a loss as well.
Yeah. So basically, they need Buffalo to lose, and they need the Jags to lose.
Yeah. So
are you a Jags fan tomorrow, or a Buffalo fan tomorrow?
Oh no! I don't want the. I never want the Jags to win. Screw them. Screw them. As much as I hate the Titans, I'll root for the Titans before I root for the Jags.
Okay.
No, absolutely not. They can burn in hell as far as I'm concerned.
Wow.
Sorry, family show. HE double hockey sticks.
Oh shucks.
So Pittsburgh, it was very fitting that George Pickens had an absolute donut of a game, capping off that season, but that didn't necessarily stop them from winning. And I mean, obviously, like we talked about in Friday's pregame, it wasn't necessarily going to prevent them from doing their opponent wasn't necessarily going to prevent them from doing well, because the Baltimore Ravens have nothing to play for. They benched everybody. Baltimore, I mean, they still came out and fought. Isaiah Likely got another touchdown. I mean, Huntley looked like a better backup than Uncle Rico did.
I don't know. I think they were on equal par, especially that one play where he gets out of the sack and just slips and falls, and at the end of the game there, So, but he is a Pro Bowler. Let's not forget he was like the 6th alternate, like last year or the year before, and he made the Pro Bowl because no one wants to play in it, so they just grab quarterbacks as they go.
Yeah.
It was a sloppy game. The Steelers did win, but it was at a cost.
Yes,
TJ Watt is out. We don't know how long, but it's probably going to be for the playoffs.
Yeah, TJ Watt's down with a likely MCL sprain, and that's obviously not good because they're obviously not going to get a bye, so they don't get an extra week to rest them. If they are fortunate enough to make it, they gotta make a decision in the next few days of whether he's good enough to go. And I mean, this is someone that, and we can get into it more on Sunday's show as far as our award predictions, but he's definitely at least a finalist, if not the favorite, for Defensive Player of the Year. And so that how big of a difference maker is he for the defense? Does he really make that offense go, or is this a unit that can kind of try to survive a little bit without him?
No, the Pittsburgh defense is TJ Watt, point blank. They're not going to get that kind of push up front now. The guy's got 18 and a half sacks.
19.
That's right, 19. Like, you're not going to get any there's no one else on there that's going to give you close to that production. You're not looking for the next TJ Watt, but you want some guy who's going to replace him to kind of give you something. I think it totally changes the dynamic of that defense.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, he was doing his thing, and I give Baltimore credit. They had some guys on there, some blasts from the past, Javion Clowney got his bonus there. You saw him celebrating, getting his $750,000 for his sack. Van Noy.
Kyle Van Noy.
Mr. Van Noy, of Patriot and Miami lore there, doing his thing. It was kind of nice to see those guys those guys playing again. But yeah, that Pittsburgh defense changes dramatically, and depending on who they play, I don't know. Yeah, Pittsburgh. If you get, that's if you get in. That's if you get in. Now I don't want. Now see, I have a quandary here because I don't want to see
You don't
them
want
in.
the Bills to get it either.
No, so I have to. So I have to become the greatest Jags fan of all time.
Yeah.
The lesser of the two evils is the Jags winning. So I'm hoping Trevor Lawrence throws for 400 something yards and decimates the Titans. And there you go. My life is complete. You'll see me smiling Sunday night because
no Bills,
I can't.
no Steelers.
I'm tired of it because the last like 5-10 minutes of that Steelers game, if I had to hear how great Mike Tomlin was, I was like, "Are you really kidding me here?"
I was going to
Really?
ask because during that game, you texted me on the side and
with some not safe for work
yes.
comments regarding the love affair from Mike Tomlin. Like I get it, fine, never, losing season, I get that, and that's great. But what do you have to really show for it? That's great that you can go 9-8 or 10 and or like 9 back in the day 9-7 or whatever. What it's about winning championships, right? That's why we play this game, right? Or they play this game. It's been forever and a day. Like if you're mediocre and just 500, then hey, that's great. Then bravo. Then be the greatest mediocre. It's like saying you're the greatest regular season quarterback of all time and you haven't won a Super Bowl.
Right, and that's like if it was any other franchise, you would have been fired a long time ago.
They would have been like, "Oh, you're mediocre. Like you just can't get over the hump. You can't get to that next level." That's what they say about every coach. But for some reason, Mike Tomlin is like the holy grail coaches. Holy grail. Can't touch him. 10 straight seasons. Unbelievable. This is great. Blah blah blah. Nope. Jags are winning in a blowout. I'm sorry, man. It's nothing personal, bro. I feel your pain. I want to support you, but the Jags have to win because I sure as heck can't have the fraudulent Bills win. So I got to pick one. To shut the door on the Steelers, I got to go with one, and I'm going with the Jags. Going with the Jags.
Get up the Bills, get up the Steelers. I feel that.
Oh, man, I can't have that, man. That's going to leave a sorry taste in my mouth.
God, why couldn't like the Bengals or the Broncos be alive right now? Give me like one extra team in there that I could kind of hope for.
Well, that's simple. Joe Shiesty's injured and Sean Payton hates Russell Wilson. Like that's
with a fiery passion.
Like if they could just get along, then maybe it would have changed. We'd be having this conversation. We'd be showing love to Denver instead of the Buffalo-esque behavior we gave them this year.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Something's rigged about this if the Steelers and the Packers both make it in. Because the league wants those eyeballs. They know those teams will draw.
Oh, yeah. Because their fans travel and all of this, yada, yada. But if you want a mediocre, lukewarm product, then put them in.
Yeah.
Put them in because that's what it's going to be. And the top teams are going to chew them up, spit them out. And it's going to be like, okay, so they were there for a couple hours on, wild card weekend. Hooray. No one's going to remember it.
Yeah. We got a 30-point blowout on the Peacock playoff game. Good job. glad you got the eyeballs in in the local markets.
At that point, you just should have gave Amazon some playoff games.
Yeah,
because that's what you're going to be watching. It's going to be like an Amazon game.
Now, the other thing, as far as taking some shine off of Tomlin's legacy, so to speak, is the fact that Mason Rudolph's been there a while, and Mason Rudolph, we've talked about it a little bit in the past. He's been back on the back shelf collecting dust, and now all of a sudden, Mason Rudolph's the guy again.
They called him Clark Kent. Where does this come from? Like you had this Pro Bowler sitting on the bench, and he was just.
At least they didn't call him Bruce.
I would have been on a plane to Pittsburgh myself. There would have been some issues. I got a cowl sitting in the closet, man. You're not riding on a plane wearing that thing? Tell me not. But and it's like they made it sound like you had like this Pro Bowler just sitting on the bench and we just put him into action. We need a hero. They play that song as he comes off the bench and saves the Steelers season. Come on. The claim to fame for Mason Rudolph is literally almost getting hit in the head with a helmet by Myles Garrett.
I forgot about that.
Like that. Like let's be real. If you Google him, that's what's popping up. But you know what? To his credit, he's led them to wins. I'm not going to take anything from him. But is he going to be your guy next year? No, he's not. Unless for some reason you feel Kenny Pickett is horrible and you don't want him and you want to have a true quarterback, controversy. Let's say let's me play horrible devil's advocate and say the Steelers somehow make the playoffs, right? In a horrible multiverse dimension, right? And Mason goes on this amazing run. Doesn't win the Super Bowl, but let's say he gets him to the conference championship somehow magically and loses a heartbreaker. Are you telling me that the Steelers are going to say, okay, you have a chance to win the job next year? No, it's not going to happen. He's going on the bench. He's going to collect dust, and Pickett's coming back. Let's be real. If I'm Mason, I'm trying to play and try to get on with another team. If I can get on some run, that's if you make the playoffs, which unfortunately you're not. A for effort, use the tape you've had this year, and someone will probably sign you. Because I think the guy possibly could play. I think he looks decent. Big, he's got a good arm. I don't think he's bad. I just think, I don't know if he's ever really had a chance in Pittsburgh to win the job.
Do you think it looks bad for Tomlin that he has 3 average quarterbacks in the roster, and it took this late in the CBA to pick the one that actually played well?
This is greatness here. The way he's been able to juggle this mediocrity and 10 straight years. No, that's he doesn't draft. I think their drafts have been mediocre at best. They've been decent. Like they've gotten some guys, diamonds in the rough, but Kenny Pickett, honestly, I'm not sold on him. Before he got hurt, he was okay, but I'm not I'm not building my franchise around him. Like, let's be real here.
Yeah.
So, no, everyone's just going to turn it and be like, wow, this is what he had at quarterback. He had injuries, and he was able to, save Mason Rudolph's career, and they, lead a charge for a possible playoff berth. That's what we're going to hear.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to hear that all day tomorrow in the pregame, and I'm going to want to yak. Like, whatever. And I'm sorry, Steelers fans. No disrespect. Hey, terrible towels and all, yada, yada. I get it. But if you talk about a franchise that lives in the past, and it's not the Cowboys, it's the Steelers.
Yeah.
And I get it. You win the titles. Now, mind you, if you were around for those titles, you have every right to swing a towel and do whatever. You lived it. You were there. I get it. But this new generation and stuff like that, you hear the stories, and yeah, you're a fan and all, but like, let's be real. They act like they just won the Super Bowl like 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great to support your team, but let's be a little realistic here.
Yeah.
Your team is mediocre at best. And until you get back to those deep playoff runs like you had with Big Ben and all of that, no one fears you. No one really does.
Well, I'm going to try to not live in the past, but I might go yak over the Colts ending to the season. Let's hope that your Bucks cannot replicate the same type of disappointment as we get ready. As we get ready.
Someone on this show needs a playoff run.
Yes,
and if that means I have to carry that on my shoulders, I am willing to do so for you. Wow. Like I said, again, I don't hate the play call. I should have caught the ball, but the future, I think, is bright in Indy. I really do. It's just there's some pieces that definitely have to go and get. But I know you have to give credit where credit is due, and Houston now, we'll find out what they're about. Maybe they get a magical run. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, what we're about is going live Sunday after the rest of these games solidify the rest of the spaces left. Bucks McGee, the final day of the regular season is nearly upon us now. We got a little bit cleared out. We still got some more to clear out, sir. Take us off air.
Wow. It's like Christmas Eve, This is the final regular season weekend. a lot of ups, a lot of downs. It's an emotional roller coaster. One of us has gotten off the roller coaster, and we all feel bad. So please send your condolences and love to my man Nutmeg. You know, it was a magical run for you. I truly respect you, and we're gonna see what Sunday brings. If your teams are in the mix, good luck. But if you're a Buffalo fan, Steeler fan, sorry to tell you, Jags by 20. Jags, T-Law for life, at least today.